the aim of this conversation is to gather good practice, insights, and maybe some benchmarks for CISOs how to be more effective when it comes to talking to C-level. Are CEOs more willing, open, and ready to spend money on cybersecurity right now?
The answer is yes, because of COVID, a lot of security authentication projects is now of the highest priority, right? Customers are literally calling us to say, I need help because all my employees gonna work from home. How do I protect them? Coming into the corporate network. So the answer there is yes. Some cybersecurity projects have accelerated because of COVID, and I would say for many companies, their digital program has accelerated because of COVID. What was in the plan for the next few years is now we need to get it done, ASAP now. So the answer is yes.
What are the main challenges that CISO face talking to C-level executives at the moment?
One of the challenges is a structural challenge. In my experience, there is still a majority of CISOs that report to the CIO. So the CISO themselves do not have access to the CEO or to the board of directors. It is the CIO that represents, the technology and the security part for the company. And when the CIO is presenting to the board, the CIO is presenting 100 projects to the CEO and to the board, of which security or fraud or governance is just 3 or 4 out of 100 projects that the CIO is managing for the organization. And the other thing is, yes, some CISOs that I work with are very good at simplifying the cybersecurity landscape and are able to better connect with the CEO and the board of directors, right? And be able to articulate the risk and why they need to do this and why they need to spend money on this, right? And I've seen CISOs who have struggled with convincing the CEO and the board of directors, and a lot of it is they're using a lot of security terms which we in the industry are familiar with, but to the board of directors, they just goes over their head. They don't understand what is this guy talking about, right? What is this girl talking about? I don't understand why. And I have actually spoken to some CEOs or general managers of companies, and they tell me, I don't understand my CISO. My CISO come to me, shows me all these charts and stuff. I don't understand. So yeah, so whereas I see some CISOs, they're very good at it. Like there's one CISO I know, every time there is a big hacking in the news, he will go straight up to the board and he will say, right, see what happened to that company, right? We will be at risk if we don't do this to make sure that we are protected against that type of an incident of, or compromise, right? And then he will say, so you need to give me $1 million so I can roll this out, right? Yeah. So he's very good. He's very quite clever in how he positioned the timing, right? It's all about timing as well, right? But he doesn't cry wolf all the time. See why I think he's very clever. If another big incident happened in the news, another company was hacked, he will also go up, to the board of directors and say, did you hear, did you see what happened to this other company? It's okay. We are okay against that type of attack, You don't have to worry about it, right?
Yeah.
So he's constantly, I guess, educating them, right, about what is happening out there, and he's sharing with them, and he's like, he's not asking for money every time either, right? He's this one, we're okay, we're good, you don't have to worry, right? We
Yeah, of
already have
course.
the systems in place, but if an attack happens, he will go up and say, well, this one we're not okay, this one we will need to invest in some solution to help protect us against this type of attack. So he was very clever. He was always he knew how to manage upwards.
It shows, you know, that the cybersecurity people need to be business partners. So understand how to leverage the conversation so that business people understand that it's really not about, you know, technical issues, but it's actually about the business continuity, managing risks, managing risk of, you know, the brand reputation. So it's about the money, yeah, isn't it?
Well, so and why I say there's an intake, there's an increase. If you ask me 5-7 years ago, I would say many companies still see security as like insurance, right? It's money I have to pay, right? But is it really adding a lot of value, you know, to the business?
Yeah.
And so they don't want to spend, too much money. They know they have to spend some money, but they don't want to spend too much money. But you know, fast forward now, a lot of companies are getting more educated. Digital transformation projects is happening everywhere. Digital cities, digital countries, digital everything. And so there's now a much more educated you know, executives out there. They understand that it's not just insurance now, it's actually a brand opportunity and a business opportunity to be able to go to the market and say, you do business with us, we will protect all your data, we are the most secure you know, bank for you to work with, right? And they actually see it as a competitive advantage now. So very different, you know,
approach
from 5 to 10 years ago, where they just thought security was just something I have to pay because, you know, it's like insurance. Now it's a it's a potentially competitive advantage for their company if they have all the right systems in place, because now they can say, I have all these things in place, you know, I am more secure. You know, if you you know, as your, we will take care of our customers better than our competitors. That's basically what they're saying.
Assume there is a cybersecurity expert, specialist, maybe even manager, and he has the opportunity to talk directly, to present the project on the board of directors. What would be your recommendation? How to drive that conversation with the board of directors to get the approval?
You know, top of my mind, you can try and demonstrate that companies, I mean, there are now reports available that show that companies that have a very solid cybersecurity strategy are, as a result, more successful than other companies who don't have a strong cybersecurity strategy, right? You can almost, there are reports now that can sort of monetize that if you invest in a strong cybersecurity strategy, that your company is going to be, you know, 20%, 30% more successful than a company who does not, right? And your cost of investing in a strategy where it is sort of more built in, so that it is aligned with all your other strategies, your digital transformation programs, you end up actually paying less rather than rolling out something and then thinking of cybersecurity afterwards. And then you go, oh, I now need to do this and this and this and this. You're better off doing it up front, so to speak, right? And where it's more aligned, and therefore your security profile is better and higher, and you're gonna end up paying less.
Yeah.
And trying to, you finish the project and then you start worrying about, oh, what security do I need to put in place, right, to protect this? You know, that's
So one thing is to be very, very clear and well prepared when
yeah.
you're talking about the business results, the ROI, how it's going to impact the business. You know what possible business benefits you're going to get in
Yes.
different areas of the business. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and if you look at governments now around the world, around Europe, it's, you know, it's GDPR, it's PSD2, it's FIDO2. Governments are regulating now all these companies to be compliant, to make sure they are
Sure.
protecting their customer privacy and data. Again, if you look at 5 years ago, if you lose your customer data, there was no penalties, there was no, maybe you get a slap in the wrist. But now with all of the regulation, you are now huge penalties. I think GDPR is like 3 or 4% of your revenue of your company as a
Internationally,
penalty.
yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's now, it's now, hey, that could be hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So why not do the right, you know, do it up front, do the right thing to avoid that you know, huge penalty that you could face, right? If you continue to
So
ignore it.
governance and compliance might be really good drivers, you know, and it's compulsory.
Well,
So
exactly, right. And from a consumer perspective, you know, you and I, if we are a customer of a bank or insurance company or whatever, I mean, I'm sure you and I want to make sure that our data is protected, right? I'm sure you
yeah,
and I'm sure you and I want to know if our accounts or credit cards have been compromised. You know, again, before this regulation, that these companies, they don't have to say anything. They don't have to tell you or me that
yeah.
your credit card details have been stolen or whatever has been stolen. But now they're mandated, right? In many countries, they have to tell us as their customers that, you know, that, hey, by the way, all your
Sure.
stuff have been stolen, right? So to me, it's a good thing, there's regulation.
And my last question is about the skills. What do you think are the key skills for cybersecurity experts, managers to be more effective in this process, in also leveraging the role of cybersecurity in the organization?
I think over time, that role of the CISO becomes more and more important in companies, right? If you look at 10 years ago, there wasn't even, I mean, CISOs only came into the industry maybe 10 plus years ago, right? Before that, there was no such role, right? And it has evolved over time. And I think the importance of the CISO has become more and more important now, right?
Yeah.
Within the organization. So I think that the CISO needs to think outside, bigger than security, and need to look at the business holistically as well to make a bigger impact to the business. I mean, I even read an article, you know, a few years back that the CISO may end up potentially taking over the CIO, right? Because without security, everything is digital now, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
everything's in the cloud, everything's
They work
subscription,
from home, so
right?
that's,
So the
well,
security part of it is becoming more and more critical. And I think the CISO that can demonstrate that they can really articulate not just the security part, but the business benefits, the business competitiveness, they can actually elevate themselves, you know, within the organization.